I'm here at Bentonville. Myself, Rich and Neil will be here for a couple of weeks because this town is an absolute mountain biking mecca. And it's also really good if you're a coffee snob. So we're filming today from Onyx Coffee Lab. And if you've used hashtag Ask GMBN Tech down in the comments of any of our videos, then I will have been able to pick that up and answer a few questions for you. So let's get started with the first question, which is from Vanda, who said, I have a late 90s Specialized Rockhopper with an original 63mm RockShox Jett T2, but lately I've been thinking on replacing it for a 100mm RockShox Recon. How much would this change in the head angle? According to Specialized, the current angle is 70 degrees. So I don't know the actual length of the fork. So what you're going to need to do is measure the axle to crown height. So axle is obviously what goes through your wheel at the bottom, and measure to the crown, which is the bridge that attaches the two stanchions together. And that length is something that you're going to need to work out if your frame will actually take a longer one. You might need to find your manual or contact the manufacturer and find out what spec it will take, what axle to crown length it will allow for it to still be safe. And then what you can do is go to a website called bikegeo.muha.cc. I'll put that on the screen. And basically what you can do is there are some drop-down menus where you can select two different forks, and you can put your bike's geometry in there as well. And what it'll do will work out the axle to crown height or the length of the fork, and it will tell you exactly what changes it will make to your geometry. So that's a really helpful website. So go and play with that. So Jeff Lockyer says, what are the pros and cons of Tyre inserts? Asking for a trail bike with 29er tires. So pros is obviously it can protect your rims, and it means you can run lower tire pressures and not worry too much about damaging your rims if you were to take a hit and go too far. So obviously lower tire pressure is better grip, a better comfort, I would say as well. And also some inserts actually give you great sidewall protection and even better cornering, where it will give you some support in the sidewalls, and some of them even have a kind of a progressive feel so that it does feel really nice in the corners, and it also dampens any rock hits as well. The cons is obviously you're going to have to buy them, so they will cost. Some of them can cost around about £100 each or $100 each. They can be hard to fit depending on which ones you go for, and some of them can be really hard to change a tire or fix a puncture if you have inserts in there. So there are some sort of maintenance issues that can arise. And then of course there's weight as well. It will add weight. Now, depending on the brand, some are lighter than others. If it's cross-country that well, it's not cross-country, it's trail, but for anyone else who's thinking about cross-country ones, there are some really light ones out there that can be around about 40 or 50 grams each, which isn't too much of a penalty when you think about saving your rims and getting better protection as well. So moving on to Proteus Nexus, who says, I have a RDM 8000 derailleur, so that's the Shimano, with a clutch that is rattling too much. I've shortened the chain, the spring looks really strong, but they're still rattling. You continue, but you basically said, have you got any ideas? Yeah, I mean, you should be able to tighten up a clutch. So there is like a little key underneath the grommet by the clutch on your derailleur, which you can tighten up. Sometimes clutches need servicing as well. They might need lubing, or they might need cleaning or sort of tightening up from the inside. And often the cages on the clutch can be removed so you can get to the inner workings to look after it more. Or you can send it to a bike shop to get serviced. But Doddy has actually done a video, so check out the link in the description. And he's actually gone through tightening up a clutch and servicing it as well. So do check out that video, as that might give you some ideas on what to do. If the clutch isn't a problem, you said that there's a lot of slap, but you think that the tension is good. Maybe it's not a clutch problem. Maybe you just need some better wraps on your chain stays. Maybe you need more protection, maybe some sound deadening or something around the rear triangle, sometimes on the upper side as well as the lower side, in order to deaden the sound and make it less rattly. So Edge or EDGO Sanity 76 says, hi, I have a SRAM GX Axis on my Canyon Spectral 125. It works great, but when I backpedal on the largest cog, the chain slips down the cassette. This is very annoying. Is there anything I can do to fix it? No, basically. This is just kind of physics, and it happens really often on 12 speed as well, because the gears are so close together. Now, if you imagine the chain, when it's on the top cog, the largest cog, when you backpedal, you're effectively moving the cassette round, and it's going to pull it down, basically. It's just kind of gravity and physics. The chain wants to be in the most straightest position, and this is often in the center of the cog. So it's nothing you can fix. It's nothing to do with your chain line. It's just a kind of a common problem. And you're just going to have to be conscious of, if you want to backpedal or, wheel your bike backwards, then it kind of needs to be in the middle gear to get away with that. So Foxtrot Kilo says, do rotors or gyro systems, that's that thing that lets you do bar spins effectively, decrease the braking power. I'm thinking of putting one on my Enduro bike. It shouldn't reduce the power, although I haven't had experience with these. I've never used them myself. I've been told that it does make your brakes feel slightly spongy. So you just got to kind of consider whether that is something you want on your Enduro bike. Are you going to be doing that many bar spins? Or are you just going to have maybe a second bike that does that? It's entirely up to you. But spongy is the answer, apparently. Mads Crower says, how much travel do you think I need for doing big, proper jumps and still be able to have a bike that can climb? I would always say travel has nothing to do with jumps at all. It's geometry. You want a confidence-inspiring geometry. And to be honest, so many people have a different opinion on what the right geometry is for them for jumping, and indeed what the right travel is for jumping as well. If you look at someone like Ollie Wilkins, he's a great jumper. He builds those street downhill courses out in foreign lands, big jumps, scary tarmac landings, and he does it on his 140mm trail bike effectively, and that is what's good for him. So I wouldn't say there is a travel that is good. It's more geometry and what suits you, especially if you're trying to balance what you say as a climbing bike. You got to think, what are you going to be doing more? Do you do more climbing and riding around, and jumps is a lesser part of your experience on the bike? If so, maybe prioritize climbing a little bit more with a down country or a trail bike. And if jumping is the bigger part and climbing not so much, then maybe an enduro bike would be better, as it's slacker, longer travel. It's a bit more forgiving for big jumps, but they still can climb. So maybe think about that balance before you decide. So thank you so much for everyone's questions. And if you have any questions now after watching this, don't forget to use hashtag Ask GMBN Tech down in the comments, and we'll try and get back to you soon. Thanks for watching.